CYC is a free channel that presents the Word of God for everyone. Your support will help us to continue the mission. Visit our website, cycnow.com. Even $1 will make a difference. We're trying to show all of you some things that are directly from God to prove to you that God is alive and in business. You have seen a crazy man like me without God. You have seen a man like me completely converted by being allowed to see the face of God. Many signs and many wonders have happened to me, and over the last 20 years it's been a continuation of elevation within my soul. It's simply that I'm forced to speak to you to try to encourage you of the things that are normally secret within me. You will all know the story of the sower, the parable of the sower. Jesus uses these things, which are creations of God, to illustrate the mind of God. That this seed is a symbol of the Word. I'm trying to reach into your heart to give you the secret, the mystery, the diamond that's hidden in this story. Jesus Christ showed me when I studied this many times. You have to get in the habit of saying to yourself, why did Jesus say this to me? Why did he say that to me? Because he's talking to you. We need to be enlightened by Christ for the soul to evolve, to draw closer to Christ. And I'm going to show you now things that you already know. I've pre-cut this apple, which you can keep seeing me dropping here. I've pre-cut this apple because I want to show you something that you know. I'm not insulting your intelligence. This isn't a nursery school. I'm showing you things that you know to lift you to what you don't know, as I didn't know, because this is grace. Inside this apple is a seed. You're all very aware of that. There are many seeds in this apple. If I take that seed, in order to make it grow, it needs two things. It needs water and light. And of course, it needs to be put into some good ground. Remember, the good ground is your heart. So what is the water and what is the light? Well, if you look in the Gospel of St. John, in the beginning, in the first chapter, you will discover that Jesus says, I am the light of the world. So if this word is the seed, and your heart is the good ground, and Jesus Christ is the light, which comes from the word, then that seed has 50% of its requirements. But the other thing that it needs, as we've just discovered, or just discussed, you already knew this, sorry, is it needs water. And the water is the Holy Spirit. St. Paul will teach you in the Word, in Ephesians and Romans, he will tell you that the Spirit quickens, and the Word that Christ speaks is Spirit. And it is this Spirit which quickens. Quickens is an Old English word. It's not used in the vocabulary anymore. But I use it because my Bible is the old King James Version, and I use the old King James Version because it's extremely powerful. The old King James Version Bible is one of the greatest scholarly works of the world until this day. There is no greater piece of academic work than the translation of 1611 King James Version in the world to this day. It is the greatest piece of work. The greatest scholars came together, brought together by King James in 1611 to translate the Bible as close as possible to the Aramaic language of Jesus Christ. So although you're reading it in English, Old English, the power, the poetry, and the spirituality are at a maximum in the 1611 version. The more watered down versions from that, you lose the power. Because I have all kinds of Bibles, and the most powerful Bible is the 1611. So we have these wonderful words that have gone extinct in these modern times. So we have light and water and the good ground, the heart, the word, and the spirit combined will cause this seed to germinate and grow. What's going to happen to the seed? Again, I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence at all, but I'm making you work. I want you to think from your heart, mixed with your academic, because we're doing literal, to discover spiritual. This seed is going to, first of all, shoot through the ground up towards what? Towards light. In the natural world, the seed will grow towards the source of light, which is the sun. The sun is there to illustrate a symbol of the life force, of the light force. So it's a symbol. Don't be mistaken like the ancient pharaohs. It's a symbol of God. It's symbolic language. It's there to help you understand Him. Because if you remove the sun, you will die. If you remove the sun, there will be no light. If you remove the sun, there will be no forms of life. So the sun is a symbol of God. Remove God, there is no life. In me for 40 years, no life. Now light has come, life. See the connections? Powerful. So the seed grows towards light. So if the seed is the word, it's going to grow towards God. The seed will continue to grow. It will become a small tree. When you look at the small tree, it will be drawing water, but you cannot see it. Why can't you see it? Because if you cut a section of tree, here is a tree growing, we cut it down, we cut it in half, and we look at one end of the tree, you will see what's called annular rings go into the center, which is called the pith. On the outside, it's the bark. The light colors are the summer growth, which is the big rings. The tight, small rings is darker wood because they're tighter together. That's winter growth, that's slow growth. And in the center is the pith, that's the beginning of its life. But all these rings, under a microscope, they are tubes. When you was a child at school, and maybe when you go to McDonald's, you get an orange juice or a milk. You drink the milk from a glass through a straw. You draw up the milk through the straw. Timber, wood, a tree, is thousands and thousands of tubes, straws. And they're drawing water from the inside, not the outside. So you don't see any water coming up from the ground on the outside at all, obviously. It's drawn through the tubes. From where does it draw the water? It draws the water from the roots. Where are the roots? Are they above ground or underground? They're underground. Why? Because the roots is the anchor to the tree. The roots is the source that draws the water, or the vehicle that draws the water up into the tubes to every single part of the tree, to the trunk, to the branches, to the smallest branches, to the leaves, to the flowers, and then on to the fruit. So that water is distributed to every part of that tree. And if any part of that tree ceases to get that water, it will die. This is God speaking to you again. He's speaking in the physical things that you know to see the spiritual things that you cannot see. Because what he's talking about is yourself as the tree. The seed is the word growing inside you, which has now become a small tree, growing towards the light, which is God. Christ. He is the true light, the greater light. Now, this tree in the time of the summer, not the winter. What is the winter? The winter is a time of darkness and no growth. It's a time when the world turns 2 degrees away from the sun when it makes its yearly circuit around the sun. So as it turns, it will tilt 2 degrees. Here is the summer, here is the winter. When it goes round and then it'll turn again 2 degrees back, and then the opposite will happen. What was summer will become winter, and what was winter will become summer. And that's what we call the northern and the southern hemispheres. So our summers and winters are at different times. Is this an accident? Is this an explosion? Is this some scientific thing that happened in the sky? It's God. It's perfect. When the world turns, it takes exactly 24 hours to do a circuit. The circuit from what? The point is the sun. As it turns, it does a complete turn. It takes 24 hours. If I was to go from my town, Grimsby, the fishing town, to London, England, the capital of our country, it would take me 5 hours. We can calculate this before we leave using a formula which I use many times in the military, which is speed, distance, and time. Those 3 formulas together, we can calculate how many hours it will take to go from Grimsby to London. It takes exactly 24 hours to turn a complete circle from point zero, the sun. That gives us 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark, so that God can show you, introduce you to the basic principles of light and dark. It also means that God calculated the distance around the earth and the speed that the earth would turn in order to give you the perfect 24 hours, 12 hours dark, 12 hours light. Is this an accident or is it divine? It's divine. As I said to one of our colleagues here earlier, if the earth moved a few miles towards the sun, not even that much, you would start to boil and cook. If it was to move a few miles back the other way, we would all be frozen ice cubes and dead, and everything that's on the planet would be dead, and we would be a dead planet. So here is an explosion, here is death, but it's exactly there to maintain and retain life. It's not an accident, it's God. This is not an accident. It gives you a complete year circuit. But we don't have the time today for explaining that, but we can do that another day. We have the moons for the months. It's not an accident. So now this tree is still growing. But what's it going to produce after the flowers come? The fruit comes. Yes, you all know that. The tree grows. The branches grow out. The branches become covered in leaves. Continue in light, continue in water. Continue in light, continue in water. Now the wind's going to blow. and it's going to blow hard. There's a chance now that this tree will be blown over. So what chances it's got of standing? It stands because of its root system. Its root system, you cannot see it because it's under the ground. The root system is bigger than the tree. The tree is tall, but the roots is deeper. And that is the strength of the tree. You can see my tree. I'm sitting in front of you, but you can't see my roots. My roots is Christ, and He is my source of water, and He is my strength in the storms, and He sustains me and holds me when all the winds war against me. So in the summer, the time of light, we've already discussed how light happens. The turning is the day, but the season is the tilting 2 degrees on its circuit around the sun, winter, summer. In the summer, the time of light, comes the fruit. The fruit in me start to grow, which is what you're listening to, in the time of light. Christ is now in me. The fruit is now growing. But this is the point of this lesson. What will that seed make that is inside this apple? It will make an apple tree, an apple leaves, and apple flowers, and it will make another apple the same as this apple. And if we cut the apple open that you've just plucked from the tree, it will have the same seeds inside the apple as the first one that you planted, identically. So if we understand that, and I know you do, if we comprehend that physically, then let's comprehend this spiritually. If the seed is the Word, and the Word is light, and the light is Christ, and it's planted in your heart, what is it going to produce? It's going to produce the same as the seed. And the seed is the promised seed, Jesus Christ in you. Amen. Amen.